And let's sing along with Randa.
Okay, the lyrics are in the chat. The words, I guess I should say. Yeah, there they are. Thanks, Mark. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind just stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind now stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind, oh yeah, stayed on justice. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, I'm walking and talking with my mind stayed on justice. I'm walking and talking with my mind just stayed on justice. I'm walking and talking with my mind now stayed on justice. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tillis, week number 205. We are a community of nonviolent resistance. And recently, we've been having, to my mind, very rich discussions about how to move forward. We kind of learn together, listen to each other. And I just want to recap for last week, anybody who wasn't there. There was a strong suggestion that we invite a couple people to be guest speakers in the near future. And Susan Steinberg has invited Reverend Drumright. So we're going to see when he can come. And I'm really excited about that. And also Jenna Wadsworth, we're going to invite her. But I forget who was going to invite Jenna.
It's Karen, it's me.
Thank you, Karen. You'll just let us know when she can come, right?
Yeah, I opted to wait till this week because I didn't want to bother her last week during the holiday.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. That's a good idea. And you know, more sane people might have taken the week off, but we never take the week off. So
yeah, Joe and I got a really cute Christmas card from Jenna and her staff. It's really cute. That came in the mail on Saturday. So yay.
Oh, that's wonderful. And then and Susan's putting in the chat, she emailed Reverend Drumright last week. So yeah, so it has been holidays, but I'm really excited about those two things coming up. And then we also talked some about having some people from the North Carolina General Assembly. And it seems like some of us are wanting to work more on issues about the General Assembly and not just stay with the Senate, the federal issues. So that's one thing. Another thing that has been emerging is that some people are interested in returning to some kind of direct action. And I don't know if we talked about that last week, but just listening to what people have been saying, it's been really interesting. It reminds me of cooking, and like you're cooking and you're stirring and the heat is on, and you keep adding things to the soup, and eventually it kind of looks like something and tastes like something. And I feel like we're in the middle of making kind of a new soup, or a soup in a new form. I want to welcome Clinton Wright, who is a rock star. Thank you so much for being with us. He was with us in the very beginning. I didn't know he was coming. It's kind of thrilling that he's with us, because I remember, Clinton, you were there like the first week and the second week and the third week, and I was looking to you so much for leadership. Clinton is in the leadership of the Poor People's Campaign. He works really closely with Reverend Barber. I have deep respect for your work. I've seen you in El Paso and all over the place. And I lost you now on visual. Are you still there?
I'm still here. You can stop gloating on me, but
Isn't
I love
it
you
fun,
too.
though?
It is fun.
Yeah, because you were really coaching us in those first few weeks. You were saying, you make a little more of a problem for those people in Tillis's office. So I'm going to put you on the spot and say, since you were there in the very beginning and you just popped up as a surprise, is there anything you want to say to us?
I didn't really come here to talk, but I'm not one to turn down a microphone. I mean, it is really, really good to be here. I was telling Elena this morning that for some reason I just woke up and I was like, it's Tuesday and I have some free time. I'm going to get on the Tuesdays with Tillis call. And so it's really good to be here again. It's been a long time since I've been out in front of the federal building or been on one of these calls with y'all, because Tuesdays are not normally free days for me. But I think it's really important what y'all have going on, and that you have been keeping on. And so I'm just here to enjoy your presence and to say, keep up the good work and keep on fighting and keep on doing what you do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So just a couple things that we know I would like to try to do. One is I want to try to play that 5 minutes from the documentary that shows a little piece of the grannies. And it might whet your interest in the documentary Democracy for Sale, which is really very good. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about Indivisible, not for a long time. And then also what's been mentioned is we do want to talk about Fed Up and its needs for this week, and make sure everybody has those links, and talk about the name. We're not going to make a decision today, but this is a really good thing to keep talking about. And what else? Anything else people want to make sure that we get to this week?
Any updates on Georgia or?
Yeah, let's start with that. Updates on Georgia. I know so many of us are doing so many things. There are a lot of postcards coming out of Randa. I know that. Yeah, updates on Georgia. Yes, Scarlett, go ahead.
I don't know if you all see the Facebook post from our friend Faisal Khan. He is still in Georgia. He has been in St. Mary's. He's been in Brunswick, Savannah, in my brother and sister-in-law's neighborhood, doing awfully good work. And when I talked with my brother day before yesterday, he said that because his area is pretty much a Republican area, their Ossoff and Warnock signs are still out in front of their house. They haven't been taken again. So that was good news. We need to send some good thoughts to Faisal.
Thank you. I didn't know he was still there. Thank you. Any other updates about Georgia? Somebody mentioned that, who was it?
Loeffler and Purdue endorsed the $2,000 stimulus check.
Yes, of course they did.
And Bernie Sanders is going to object to the unanimous consent to overturn Trump's veto. And the reason he's doing it is to force McConnell's hand to vote on the $2,000 stimulus checks, or survival checks is a better term for it. So that could be a good thing. We could see that this afternoon in the Senate.
He's planning on filibustering.
Can you just say that second part again?
They're going to ask for unanimous consent to overturn Trump's veto of the defense bill.
Okay.
And Bernie is going to object. The one objection throws it all into chaos, and he wants to filibuster it to force McConnell's hand to vote on the $2,000 survival checks.
Oh, thank you. Okay. And that'll probably be on C-SPAN this afternoon, right? Maybe?
Whenever it comes out, yeah, it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
And
Good.
if they get a few Republican votes, it should be a done deal.
Yeah. Good update.
How do you interpret that, Michael?
Well, you got 47 Democrats. All you need is 4 Republicans, and they pass it.
And he's forcing the Republicans to overturn Trump's veto, right? Because
they want to pass it. They will pass they will overturn his veto. There's no question about that. They have the votes, but he wants to force a vote on the other one. He wants to not have unanimous consent, which opens up everything else for discussion, and force a vote for force McConnell, who does not want to bring up the $2,000, the vote for the $2,000 survival checks, and he wants to force him to do it.
Thank you.
So he's got a lot of leverage.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, what else? Just anything else that that's at the top of your mind that we may not all know?
This is Mary Grace. I think I posted it in the chat, but regarding the pardons by Donald Trump of the Blackwater mercenaries, I was arrested at Blackwater, the Moyak, after the massacre, and when things just were stalled completely in terms of any accountability. And I learned stuff by looking at the video that was there. It's called The Youngest, Blackwater's Youngest Victim. And it was put out by The Intercept and Jeremy Scahill. It's very well done. It's almost exclusively an interview with the father of that young child, the 9-year-old boy called Ali, who was killed. And one of the things that I learned in this video was that these guards left the green zone, the American protected zone, without permission, these 4 guards, without permission. And they were told twice to return to the base and refused. So that's pretty indicative of their intent to massacre. So I would encourage everybody to watch that and to, just keep that in mind, spread the word about what this president is doing in terms of pardoning, not just war criminals, but really nasty people.
Thank you. Thank you. That whole question of how to hold the Trump administration accountable by commissions is a whole huge area that we might even have a group of people working on after the election. Yeah, Scarlett.
And Prince is Betsy DeVos's brother.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Aaron, it's Sandy. I just want to come in behind Mary Grace. The podcasts for Intercept are outstanding. And yesterday or the day before, they had a very complete one on the history of Georgia up to present and what's happening. And it looks like Pastor Warnock is pulling Ossoff along because he's playing Warnock is playing nice. And they say that there would be a chance if they can get like 30% of the votes of white people. So it's very worth listening to understand what's going on there.
Sandy, did you put that link in the chat by any chance?
No, I'll get it to
Jewel.
I'll get it to you guys, to Jewel later.
Okay. Yeah. you have a couple hours afterwards, right, Jewel? It's a labor of love, and she works on it really hard. So if you don't get the chat, put your email in the chat, and we're really grateful to you, Jewel, for doing that. It's really helpful. And if anyone doesn't get the tiny letter, also put your email in the chat for her. Okay, Michael Flaherty.
Hi. I noticed the NPR article that Patrick O'Neill is sentenced to go to prison next week. So I just wanted to mention that, people to set their intentions for him. I don't know what we can do for it at this point, but that's really sad.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Along with the others. Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's spoken for us at Tuesdays.
Yes.
A while ago.
We helped with the Peace Tower that he brought down to the state capitol as well that cold morning. It's unforgettable. So
yeah, that was unforgettable. Yes.
He's downright heroic with that group, Plowshares. They're remarkable. They do good things.
Thank you, Michael.
Helen. Now I hear that Patrick is not going to be at Butner. He's going somewhere in Ohio. Is that right?
I think that is right. Yeah.
So his family, will be able to visit. Now, he goes to prison and these Blackwater mercenaries get pardoned.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, and think of all the other people that are going to prison. Like 2.5 million people are in prison. Most of them people of color.
And on Christmas Day, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
On Christmas Day, Patrick O'Neill led his annual Merry Christmas to all the inmates at Central Prison in Raleigh.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Susan is writing. She would love to have an address for Patrick when we have it. So when we get that, Libby, do you have that by any chance?
Yes, I'm going in the. I'll put the link in the chat because there are some new developments with writing, especially to the prison that Patrick is going. So to keep up with how you can communicate and how you can support, the best way, and it's kept up, updated, the national support team, which is all over for all the Kings Bay Plowshare, meets weekly. So that information in this link will be helpful for you if you want to support Patrick and his family. And Eric and I will be the local support for Patrick's family, but every inmate, every one of those activists has a support person.
Okay.
So we'll keep you updated.
Okay. Thank you very much, Libby.
Okay.
Any other quick things before we move on to Fed Up? Quick.
One quick. I'm very interested to see who will be Attorney General, because I think that will tell us a lot about whether people are going to be held accountable.
Okay, thank you. Mary Grace.
Yes, I just wanted to, so we were talking about having guest speakers. Could we have Patrick O'Neill come join us and speak, or has he already?
He did a long time ago.
He is speaking January the 6th with Mark Davidson's Voices for Palestinian. They have a new name, but anyway, I can also put that link. But he will be the main speaker there. And his time is pretty limited now. And I think, but he loves to get out into the public.
He does.
Okay, so that would be good to have that link when you get it.
Okay.
For people who want to hear him speak. I'm just wanting to move on to Fed Up because there's a lot to say about Fed Up. Who would like to tell us what Fed Up needs for Friday?
Might I suggest Clinton step up here, please?
Clinton.
Gosh, I come back for like the first time in 3 years and I get voluntold like 2 or 3 times in one call. My goodness. Sure.
They're telling you not to be a stranger.
Yeah, I guess so. It's like it's like, you know, a grandma, when you walk in, there's always food on the table and a hot cup of tea, whether you're hungry or thirsty. It's just there. And so, am I freezing? Hold on, let me turn off my, okay, cool. So before I talk, you know, precisely about what we need for Friday, I just wanted to say a little bit about Fed Up through telling a little bit of a personal story. So I believe that we all have food stories, and we should all sort of reach down into our memory bank and think about food and what food means to our lives and to the people we love. And so I can remember being a child, and I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, and like out in the country. Like you couldn't even find my community on a map if you tried. My parents were a construction worker and a hairdresser. And so we were pretty poor. And, you know, we depended a lot on things going wrong with people's houses. Roofs being torn off in a storm, you know, a fire, something catastrophic. And I can remember being a kid in the wintertime when no one's getting any work done on their house. And we were relying on the food that we had preserved over the summer from our vegetable garden and from the animals that we had slaughtered from our neighbor's farm. And wishing that there would be a catastrophic winter storm or a tornado or something, because that would mean that there would be another roof to fix or another addition to put on a house, which would mean that we would have more money and our dinner conversations wouldn't be about, you know, the same green beans and tomatoes that we had had for multiple weeks in a row. And so part of the reason I'm really involved with Fed Up is because I've really latched on to those dinner time conversations that my family had about trying to stretch a buck, trying to stretch a green bean, trying to stretch an apple or a peach or whatever we had stored up from the summertime. And the hundreds, if not thousands of people across the triangle who are having those very same conversations now, not because money is tight from their doing, but from the systems of this American project that I like to refer to as the death cult project. We often think about America as being like a place of democracy and freedom, but I think of this place as a death cult. And because
you froze.
We're experiencing and COVID-19. Is it better if I have my video off? Yeah. So because of the intersections of COVID-19, systemic racism, and the economic collapse that many people are experiencing right now, the death is all around us from this death cult project. We see the death of our friends and family members from this virus. We will see dozens of people freeze to death because they're homeless in the Triangle this winter. We've seen the death of access to free public education, the death of the access to free healthcare, and the death of food for our families and the access to food. And so when we experience death like this, we have to hold that in the center of our hearts and think about Jubilee. And Fed Up is a group of people that is coming together across the Triangle, who's fed up with the death cult and the destruction that is all around us, and instead are fired up for a season of Jubilee, a season where everybody has food, everybody has healthcare and education and the resources that they need. And instead of our friends and families being buried in potter's fields of mass graves of homeless and poor people, we see our families without debt, without the burden of the day-to-day finances that are preventing them to breathe free in this country. And so every other Friday, Fed Up gets together and we deliver and package and distribute 800 bags of fresh produce, PPE, and dry goods. And we are in need of drivers. We're in need of people to come and help with setup and our distribution, our bagging of food and things on the ground if you're able to be around other people. And we also need people to join our newly formed rapid response team. Many of you helped last week when we rescued some food from Chatham County that was at Bonley Baptist Church. And so some of you are already members of our rapid response team, but we have an official way to sign up. So if you go to that same link, the linktree.com, there's a link that says volunteer and help distribute food on January 1st. If you scroll down towards the bottom, there's a place to sign up for the rapid response team. Everything that you want to do with Fed Up is on that same link. We also do some door-to-door canvassing in the Lakewood community of Durham. We do some phone banking of all of our people who received bags to organize them into the project. And we have political discussions on every other Wednesday night. And I'm also on our fundraising team. So I would be really, really remiss if I didn't say on this call that we welcome donations.
And Susan, we've been saying that on a regular basis and putting it in the tiny letter as well. So
perfect. Yeah, you all have been really great. And many of you are amazing, amazing donors. I recognize so many of your names from our many spreadsheets. But yeah, please sign up to volunteer and to drive and to be a part of our rapid response team.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know that it's fun to show up even just to drive and see so many familiar people from Tuesdays with Tillis. I love that. I really love that. So, if anybody wants to hang around afterwards to talk a little more about that, if you haven't done this before on a Friday and want to know more about what it's like to drive or put the food in the bags, please do that because we can talk about it more. Any urgent questions now before we move on to the next thing? I'm just looking at you all. You know, we just had a great time unloading the food and bringing it from Bonley. Who knew there was a place called Bonley, North Carolina? It was really fun. So the rapid response team is fun, and a lot of us are on it. I would like, if it's okay, to move on to talking about Indivisible for a minute, okay? Because as we've been thinking about ourselves as an organization, one of the things that's come up for me is around Indivisible, because how many of us get emails from Indivisible? Does everybody get emails from Indivisible? Okay, and how often do you read them and do what they say? Would you say? Someone who doesn't usually talk very much. Anybody want to comment on that? So I just want to say, like, I've had a hard time with it, but then when I go back and I really look at it, I realize it is a rich resource for us. And that I can't, and I'm really saying this for the sake of argument, I can't really see a reason why we would stop being an Indivisible chapter, because it doesn't stop us from doing anything. And what I want to do is share my screen with you for a minute. Some of these resources, which okay, so look, for example, are you seeing my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just something for the sake of argument as we're trying to figure out what we're doing and how we want to expand our outreach. We could put every Tuesday on this national calendar. And this link was in the latest email. So hold that thought, because I'm going to come back to it. And then the other thing is there's something called group leader resources that I think is in everybody's email that they just got this week. And there are really good things in here. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you was, oh, that's the same one I just showed you. It's about, oh, here it is. And I just learned how to move the chat box away from this. Okay, there we go. The People Lead Event Toolkit. Okay, so there's going to be a mobilization between January 11th and 15th. Indivisible is asking for people to do a mobilization between Monday the 11th and Friday the 15th. The state group, NC Teen Democracy, is doing something that's going to focus on the NCGA. And it's going to be about COVID relief, because the NCGA has a lot of money that needs to be given out around food, evictions, unemployment benefits, all kinds of stuff. And it doesn't seem to me that we can use this toolkit to do an NCGA thing. But this is really interesting, because what they're saying here is a little bit about how this will be targeted will depend on how about what happens on January 5th. So I guess the reason I wanted to just share the screen on these things is because when I look carefully at the resources available for Indivisible, I think they might be something that we might want to use, but I'm not exactly sure how. You know, I'm bringing this up for the sake of argument, because one of the things that people have brought up in the last few weeks as we've been cooking this soup that we're cooking is that we might want to return to some direct action, socially distanced, maybe with signs, maybe in front of the federal building, or maybe the NCGA. I don't know. But we might want to stay as an indivisible group. So one of the things that we might want to do is meet with the other indivisible groups. Susan has represented us. I think Mike, maybe a few other people have been on those meetings. They're about once a month with Rachel, who's our district organizer. And it's been correctly observed that we follow really closely the Poor People's Campaign as a group much more than Indivisible. But there's no reason why we can't do both. So can we just open this up for a little discussion? Because I'm really interested in what other people think. And the question is there any reason why we should stop our connection with Indivisible? And are people interested in kind of strengthening it in one way or another, like putting our meetings on their calendar every week? Thoughts? Yeah, Pat.
What will we gain by severing that connection?
I think that's my question. Does anybody feel like we have anything to gain by severing that connection? Okay. So
I think when this question first came up, Karen, that was the question. Shouldn't we? Because of, you thought maybe that would hinder us from doing other things that we wanted to do, is what I gathered from that. And now that it's been discovered, you discovered that it won't stop us from doing other things or being involved with other organizations. If that's what we want to do, then maybe that reason that was in your mind goes away, because that I think that was the focus of your concern, was that we might not be able to do other things that we want to do because of their guidelines and bylaws, or whatever you want to call them.
Thank you. Thanks, Bessie. Yeah, I think I just felt like I so often ignore whatever it is that they're doing, and we kind of do what we want to do, but we could just keep doing that, ignore them when we want to ignore them, and jump on their bandwagon when we want to do that. Amy, and then Jade.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if there was any advantage in staying in Indivisible. Do they offer any funding or any resources, anything like that that would be helpful for our group? I mean, just beyond the written things that they do. Funding.
No funding.
Well, they now and then they have grants that you can apply for. Not huge, but something like if we wanted to support our website, or just a few things like that. I think, Karen.
Thank you, Susan. Jade.
I'm curious that about a year ago when Erica Smith came and spoke to us, and this maybe even longer than a year ago, we were very excited about Erica Smith. And I was under the impression that we could not support her because Indivisible wants to be bipartisan or not.
No, I'm sorry. I probably created the wrong impression around that. No, that's not right. We've had a habit of not endorsing candidates, but that doesn't mean we can't do that.
Yeah, because if we could have endorsed Erica Smith and really gotten behind her and raised money for her, maybe she could have been the nominee to run against Tillis. I don't know. And you saw what that turned out to be. So I was just curious if that was an issue with Indivisible.
I don't think so. I think whether or not we endorse candidates has kind of been a decision up to us. And one issue is we may not all have the same feeling about any individual candidate. So deciding to endorse one candidate might be a little messy. And also I think if we talk about the issues, then it's clear what candidate we want. It was clear that Erica Smith was more philosophically in line with us than Cal Cunningham. So, okay, that kind of brings me to the next thing I wanted to do, which is to show a clip from this film. But further thoughts about Indivisible? Anything else? Seems like no reason not to stay as an Indivisible chapter, yes? And this makes it easier for Marcy, who built our website, and it was through Indivisible. So I really was hoping maybe we wouldn't have to ask her to do that. Hi, Marcy. Okay, I'm going to share the screen one more time because this is a really good film, and the link to it with the password is in the tiny letter. Anybody who's seen this film, can you just say something about it as a little advertisement for why we should all watch the whole film?
You get a better understanding of why money shouldn't be in politics.
You really do. And you get a better understanding of why Erica lost the Senate election. So here, okay, I'm going to share. Am I sharing my screen? Okay. I'm going to just give you 5 minutes of this. Wait. I'm sorry. This is always a little trickier than I want it to be. Okay. Let's try this. Can you see him?
An international reference price that has been done by basically a country mandating a certain price point and adopt. I, for one, think if we use that simplistic approach to addressing a serious problem that we may need to make progress on, that you're going to see innovation dry up. In today's world where we have COVID, if we're not careful with the way we implement policies, then our medical community, our scientists would have fewer resources to try and advance research for vaccines and therapeutics to fight COVID and future viruses. If all we do is look at one side of the equation, then we are potentially going to do harm to our ability to innovate and actually save lives.
Humalog and Novolog, which are made from two of the biggest manufacturers, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, their price increases have gone lockstep together. Can't even see their two different lines. Nothing has changed. We've had no advancements. If you go right across the Canadian border, That same vial costs you $30 US dollars. Same exact vial.
Pharmaceutical industry is very important to the state of North Carolina. Tens of thousands of jobs, hundreds of millions of dollars of tax revenue are created for this state and here within North Carolina. It is a natural process for them to financially support a senator.
First, we're going to hear from the Raging Grannies.
Where does your money come from? Poor Daryl Tillis, your bankers are coming undone. Poor Daryl Tillis, Big Pharma is paying you off. Poor Daryl Tillis, small donors you clearly love.
Since the 2014 election, there has been a weekly demonstration at our state capitol in Raleigh called Tuesdays with Tillis. It's a bunch of people who have gotten together to sort of call attention to issues that they have with the U.S. Senator.
Smiles, we just want you out of the Senate. We've been waiting a long while.
Let's just come as close as we can so that you can hear our great speaker. Bob Phillips is the Executive Director of Common Cause North Carolina.
Thank you, Karen. One of the central issues in this upcoming election for this U.S. Senate campaign is money. You all have been with us. We obviously have fought for trying to get better laws with regards to money in politics, but Citizens United has unfortunately made it so much harder. We want your mind made up.
A lot of people wonder, well, if they're taking money from wealthy special interests, what does that mean for that person's ability to serve all of us?
The vast majority of the support that I receive are from individuals, from
Yeah, that's a lie.
Agriculture in North Carolina, great support from farm groups and organized groups that represent the voices of farmers. I have great support.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to turn them off. Isn't that outrageous?
Outrageous. Karen, yeah. I coordinated a little project where somebody in Russia had, a pastor's wife had hepatitis C. And I know here in the US to get her treatment would cost like $80,000. But somebody was so angry with the prescription companies and the prices, he posted online what he learned, that he could buy it through India for $1,000. We would pay $80,000 here, and he was able to be healed of hepatitis C by ordering it through India.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And there's Tillis saying that it would stifle innovation.
And small donations, yeah, from individuals.
Yeah. But wasn't that fun? Wasn't that fun to see? I never get tired of seeing that little clip. But it's a very good film, and it really does outline the role of money in politics and how when the wealthy people pick the nominee, then we're sunk.
Can I say one thing, Karen?
Please say whatever you want.
Yeah, the amazing thing about this whole thing was that Citizens United was a case that came up in 2009 in the Supreme Court, and nothing happened. And they brought it up again the following year, which is highly unusual, and they found in favor of Citizens United over the, and that's where this whole thing came from. It didn't have to be brought back up again. They didn't come to a decision, and they changed their minds the next year. And the Republicans, obviously the 5 Republican justices passed it, passed it.
Thank you.
I think John Roberts had a hand in that, right?
Yes, he was the one that decided to bring it back up again. And you remember Alito at the State of the Union when Obama said, this is going to open the floodgates, and he shook his head and said no. And obviously Obama was right and Alito was full of shit.
One of the things that we have been talking about is how do we have a hand in who is the nominee for Burr's seat? How do we not let that get done by people who are going to pick, again, the wrong person? I don't have an answer to that, but I know it's something we all care about a lot.
Can we come up with
Karen,
I'm sorry, Karen, go ahead.
Yeah. I predict Jenna might have some thoughts about that to share with us.
Oh, good idea. Thank you.
Can we come up with some names and try to recruit somebody?
Yeah. Karen Ziegler.
Yes.
Office.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice. By acclamation.
But no, that's a great idea to talk to Jenna about it. That's a really great idea when she comes.
Maybe she'd be a good candidate.
I think she would be a good candidate. She's amazing. I'm really looking forward to her coming. Yeah, Mark.
I think we need to get involved in the Democrats' caucuses and groups as well, because that instead of trying to impact it from the outside in, it might be better trying to do something from the inside.
Yeah, I think that's true. It really feels to me like now we have to figure out every single way that we can impact as many people as possible. And, you know, this, I think the coup continues. And remember when George Lakoff did those seminars about how you stop a coup is by impacting the middle. I've been really thinking a lot about it. This sort of goes along with what Mark just said. Like, how do we impact the middle? Yeah, go ahead, Dewey, because the coup continues. Dewey, go. I think I have to ask you to unmute yourself.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes.
You know, the borough position is clearly due a whole lot of discussion, but I say again, our primary focus, just like with President and with Tillis, it needs to be with Burr, is who can win. Who can win? And just not endorsing people too early.
I think Dewey makes a good point. Electability is the key.
What is electability? I could never get a good definition of that.
Somebody who wins.
Yeah, I had my hand up.
Somebody who doesn't do stupid things.
Somebody who has a shot.
Karen, are you frozen, hon?
I got kicked out, but I'm back.
Yay. There's hands up waiting for you to call on them.
Maple and then Michael.
Hey, everybody. Well, yeah, you could go down a hole for a week on this because of all the different kinds of Democrats, you know, the party and the behaviors and the meetings, the bureaucracy. And if we are progressives, that's not the main grouping, even in North Carolina. And electability, you could go for a year with that one because the problem is, you know, they don't think Bernie's electable, but he was. You know, I mean, we could go on and on with this, you know. But I think if we were going to, and I think it's a good idea to talk to the parties and the different caucuses, and there is I don't know how strong it is, but there's progressive Democrats statewide, and then there's different chapters of progressive Democrats, including in Durham, you know, and I've been to all these different meetings. And some of the bigger Democratic meetings that aren't progressive, they'll have a whole meeting and not talk about the issues it all, so it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of spreading out. It takes a lot of people going to different kinds of Democratic, you know what I mean? It's big, but I think it's important, but it's not simple at all. And neither is electability. The people want who the parties don't want. Let's face it. It doesn't really, they'll define electability, and it's not what we think at all. And it's not who we vote for. So, it's crazy. Over.
Thanks, Maple. Michael, and then Scarlett.
There's not been a Democratic candidate in this election that supported Medicare for all that lost, even in swing districts. And there's not been one Democratic candidate in the House in the last 10 years that's lost that supported Medicare for all. So progressive ideas do ring strong, and they are overwhelmingly supported by the majority of the public. So I think we need a strong progressive candidate that is willing to not back off from these issues. I don't know if I know Erica Smith probably supported it, but I don't know if she backed it when she ran for the Senate. So it's important, I think, to listen to the statistics and find the right candidate that is willing to support things that people want.
Thank you. Scarlett and then Jewel.
And I talked with Mike Woodard at one of the rallies after the election and expressed to him our anger at Cal Cunningham, and that the mucky muck should listen to the people. He said, and I said, a woman might be a better candidate. And he didn't say anything, but then he said that Jeff Jackson's name was definitely the name that was floating around to run against Burr.
Thank you. Jewel?
Well, I really hear what you're saying, Michael, and you too, Scarlett. And I'd be really interested in knowing how many of those Medicare for all candidates had to fight a hard primary to be the nominees for their parties. I bet you in most of the states, the Democratic Party didn't support them. They won the primary over the establishment's candidate.
I agree with you. Look at Katie Porter in California. She won a Republican district 2 years ago and then won again. And I would have loved to seen her get picked for the senator out of California. Not that this Alex Padilla is not going to be a great senator. He probably will be. But she is such a strong voice, and everybody that comes before her in a committee, she just shows them that they're wrong. It's amazing how she's able to do that. Maybe it's the school teacher in her that is able to bring that out, but she's fabulous. So she ran a district, won a district, I think it was 40 years that a Democrat hadn't won. So it's possible, it's capable. It's definitely possible. I agree, Jewel.
Just bringing her up makes me happy, thinking about how she whiteboards those corporate executives. It's so excellent. A lot of this discussion really dovetails with something that I've been thinking about since last week when our Climate Crisis Committee made that just amazing presentation to us. A real shout out to them because they just do so much work by consistently meeting every week around something that each of them are passionate about. And I realize that's just the way things get done, and this whole thing that we're talking about now, we feel so passionately about it. And I don't know about you, but I get overwhelmed. I really get overwhelmed. And just like with climate, but what the Climate Crisis Committee managed to do is break it down for us. You could do this, you could do that, and this is what this issue looks like. I got a little thing about, have you read this particular bill? And I realized I don't have to read this bill because I know the Climate Crisis Committee read it and I trust them to make recommendations. So I feel like one way that we could definitely strengthen our outreach and build our power is by all of us thinking about what is an issue that we want to work on in this kind of concentrated way with a smaller group of people. So I just want to throw that out there. If there's anyone not already working on one of these sort of working groups that we have, it would be great to think about doing that, because it's limited what we can all do together. Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, and I kind of think that, though, the next step from that, Karen, is to get involved in some of these parties. I feel like it's like infiltration.
Yes.
So, you know,
yes.
we have these subcommittees, which are fantastic: food and climate, you know, our well-being. I think there's some outstanding work, but we need to get that infiltrated into some of these other organizations and make sure that something takes root.
I love that. I love that. That's really true. Like if all 67 of us were a steady presence in 67 different, you know, things, that would be amazing. Then we could report back. Okay, it's 12:25, so I have to ask for last words before we have the closing song. Go ahead, Scarlett.
There is an Irish tradition that on New Year's Eve, you open your front door and your back door. You let the old year out and the new year in. If you're up at midnight, I suggest you do that. I'm planning on doing it.
I won't be up at midnight, but I'm going to do it anyway. Great idea. Yeah. We have to let 2020 out.
You open the garage door and the window.
All the windows. That's great, Scarlett. Anything else before we sing the song? Okay. Michael and Randa, take it away.
Share. Okay, I had to be unmuted. Okay, that's not really quite it. All right. Stop share. Oh gosh. All right. Hang on, everyone. I'm coming. It's coming.
This is our ode to January 5th.
God in heavens. Yes.
Patience is a virtue.
Oh.
Yay.
Everybody join me. If you don't like who's in there, vote them out. That's what election day is all about. Now the superpower we've got is called the ballot box. And if you don't like who's in there, vote them out. Vote them out. Oh, vote them out. And when they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. Well, we'll bring some great ones in, and they'll find us hope again. And if you don't like who's in there, vote them out.
Well, Loeffler acted quick when COVID broke, though not a word to warn those Georgia folks. She served herself quite well, knew what to buy and sell. If truth be known, she'd never win their votes. Hey, Georgia, you deserve a man who's true. Bet your ass that sure ain't Dave Perdue. David thinks the climate's poor, but his stocks are now worth more. Yeah, we don't like who's in there, vote him out. Vote him out, yeah, vote him out. And when they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. We'll vote some new ones in and bring us hope again. 'Cause we don't like who's in there, vote him out.
While Dave and Kelly cling to a sinking boat, Raphael and John, oh, will win the vote. Election fraud, boo-hoo. No, Georgia's turning blue. And now we'll finally win the Senate, too. Vote 'em out. Vote 'em out. And when they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. Well, we'll vote some new ones in and start that show again. And if you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. I said, if you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out.
Thank you. Wow. What a perfect way to end this last meeting of 2020 and look forward to 2021 to let 2020 out the door and welcome 2021 in. You know, at the end of this year that has broken our hearts and raised our blood pressure to new levels and expanded our capacity for disbelief at what is happening and overwhelmed us to the point of paralyzing us at points. This group has showed us the way, kept us going, reminded us what day of the week it is when the days have felt like years sometimes. So in the midst of all the things that have changed in this year, let's keep our hearts soft enough to keep breaking. And keep our anger always turned towards justice, that we might keep believing the truth will win. Keep believing that love will win. Because we are forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
One step back.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you so much.
Better May it be a beaut.
Happy New Year.